Hey Stampers, it's Brandy here, and I am so excited to craft with you today. So today we are going to take our cards up a notch by adding some stitch die cuts. That's right, the dies that we're going to use are the Stampin' Up! Everyday Detailed dies. I love these dies. They're fantastic, and it's really amazing how you can frame an image, how you can stamp on the die cut. There's a couple different things that you can do, and I'm excited to show you what I have done today. So I have 3 examples for you, and I always tell you, whenever you're going into your craft room and you're getting started, pull out your Stampin' Up! Catalog. They are just amazing. They're full of ideas and so much inspiration. So that's exactly what I did, is I pulled out my Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. So this is the January through April mini catalog. It's not so many. It's full of fantastic stuff. And I hope you don't toss this guy either. He is amazing. Got all kinds of card layouts, ideas, inspiration. And so I went to the catalog and I opened it up and I found a sample that I loved. So we're going to start with that sample today, and then I'm going to show you a couple other ways that you can use these dies. And if you haven't seen my video on how you can stitch, that's right, how you can actually sew with a needle and baker's twine. It's absolutely amazing. And so I have those examples to show you as well. And of course, then you can go back after this video and maybe have a look, right? Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to show you this die set. So this is the stamp set that we're going to use, Everyday Details. I love every image in here. It's absolutely fantastic. And then over here, these are our stitched dies. Oh my goodness, amazing. I love the circles, love the rectangles. I just really enjoy how all of these come together. And here is our mini that I was telling you about. So many amazing things in here, but we're gonna focus on, oh, actually, I think that was it, page 28, is I think what I remember. Yes, right there. So when you look at this, I loved how they stamped the eggs in the nest. So we may be doing that. And I also wanted to show you this card because this is probably one of my favorites that I saw out of the mini catalog. And I'll show you why. It's just lovely. Not to mention, we're going to use those fabulous cork rounds. So the cork rounds were actually one of my gifts last month to my customers. And I love them. And if you receive them and you're like, okay, now how should I use those? Wait till you see how easy they are. They're really fun to use. So let's go ahead and set this aside. And what we're going to use first is we're going to use this big rectangle. I love that big rectangle. I think it's fantastic. So that's where we're going to start, okay? And then what we're going to do first is we are going to take our designer series paper. So let me show you the paper that we're going to use today. So this is called Poetic Expressions. It is with that beautiful hummingbird suite. So let me just show you kind of some of the designs here. I guess I didn't go through them to kind of make sure that they were all where you could see them, but they are absolutely beautiful designs. Really, really fun. Look at that on that side too. So just really great designs, and I loved it. I love the type pattern, and I loved those colors too. We've got some of our Moody Mauve in there, and of course that boho blue. So some of those in colors are in there as well. So just pretty amazing. Now here you go. This is our rectangle. And it's, this is just a nice piece of designer series paper. What I've done is I've cut it to size, and then I'm going to just kind of add my rectangle on there, my stitched rectangle. I have some of my washi tape. This is just some washi tape that I've had, and I'm going to add that right there to my piece of paper. Then what we're going to do is we are going to bring in our cut and emboss machine. That's right, we're going to bring in our cut and emboss machine, and we are going to die cut this piece. Now I left one of my plates over there, so I had to go back and get it. So I'm going to put my plate down, and I'll bring this in so you can see. And I'm just going to build up my sandwich. So I have my base plate, I have plate number 2, and then I have an acrylic plate. Then I'm going to add my paper with my die, and then I'm going to add my top. Oh, look at that. I've got all these little pieces stuck to that. So this is from when I die cut it before, and all you got to do is just take a piece of paper and just kind of brush it off. Now, ideally, I'd brush it off in the trash. I just sort of brushed it off right on top of my table. So, you know, you're going to want to make sure that you brush those off into the trash so that you don't get those in your stamp pads or anything like that, those little pieces. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this over to the side here, and I am going to run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Might sound like some bones cracking, but all is well. And I did run it back through. I generally do that just because it's easy to do, and then it makes sure that all of my holes are nice and punched out. So there you go. You can see exactly how that turned out. And then, of course, after you do that, your washi tape, you can kind of pull that off, and then you'll have a second rectangle there as well. So it's pretty easy peasy. It's fun to do, and it makes a fabulous frame. So I'm just going to set that back over to the side, and let's put that over there. And I'm going to bring in all of my parts and pieces for this card. So really, let's bring this card in. Here, I'll show it to you first. How about that? You're like, oh yes, let's see it, let's see it. It's so beautiful, isn't it? So easy too. You're gonna be surprised at how easy it is and how fun it is to color it. So let me show you what I did. So I've got my basic white. I'm gonna go ahead and fold this. You can certainly burnish it if you would like. And then I have my frame. So there's a couple ways to do this. You know, you can do it a couple of different ways. Option number one is ink up your stamp and then center it in here and stamp it straight down, okay? Option number two is cut a piece of basic white and stamp your image how you like it, and then you can shimmy it inside of the rectangle with a little bit of liquid adhesive. Once your frame is down, you can shimmy it into you know, where you'd like it and center it. But you know what? I'm feeling like, I'm feeling dareful, I guess. And so let's go ahead and give it a try and let's stamp it. And the good news is if it's not perfect, that's okay. We do have another stamped piece that we can color and put in there. So I have my Memento Black. I do recommend always stamping your image on a piece of scrap paper first. And the reason that I recommend that is just so that you can kind of get that stamp set, get that stamp moist, get it wet, and you can, kind of get one image out of it first. Okay. So here we go. We're going to ink that back up. I also like to ink it up this way so that I can make sure that I get a good bit of coverage on my stamp. Okay. So there we go. I'm going to take that away. I'm going to bring in my frame. Okay. And so see, this way is not as easy as I think the other, but let's give it a go. So we're going to stamp it straight down and straight up right here. And there you go. Perfect. Okay. Now it doesn't always end up perfect. And like I said, that's okay. Just take yourself another piece of basic white, cut it down to size and stamp it on there. And you can color it on this piece and then kind of shimmy it in and glue it down with some liquid adhesive. So you can do that too. Okay, so you can see we did our stitch die on our frame. Super easy. So before we add that, why don't we just go ahead and color our flower. So many of you know I love my Stampin' Blends. My Stampin' Blends are my alcohol markers. They are by Stampin' Up. I love them because you get a light and a dark. They're very easy to use. So I'm going to take my dark pecan pie. That's what I'm using right now is the dark pecan pie. And I'm just coloring kind of the accent here. So kind of the accent of it. I'm making the bottom of the pot dark as well as this top part. Okay. So you saw me kind of color that top part in. and then right down there towards the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit of dark pecan pie right over along this edge. So this is where I'm going to kind of put my dark. All right. And then I'm going to leave the cap sort of off so that we can, you know, so you don't have to hear me click that. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of swirl over here where I want it to kind of pick up some of that dark. And then very lightly, I'm going to make my way across my pot. And what I find is that these alcohol markers, they really sort of, the ink sort of spreads, right? So I do like kind of that light and dark area. I don't want it to be perfectly shaded. So I think that looks fantastic. Now, one thing that you can do, if you want to, you can actually stamp your flower a second time and then color your pot and then hand cut it out. So then you can pop it up. So I'm going to show you what it looks like and see if you can tell the difference. So I did that one earlier, but we're going to leave this one as it is right now. Next thing I'm going to do is bring in Granny Apple Green. Fantastic color for sure. And I'm just going to use, you can use either end, whichever you're most comfortable with, but I'm going to start with the bullet end. And I'm just going to add the kind of the lightest one, which is also probably going to be the brightest, right? When you add the dark over it. So I'm just adding kind of that bright green, if you will, to my card here, to my flowers and my leaves. And it is fairly difficult to see in the camera, so just making sure I've got them all. All right, so I think we do. Now you could certainly, if you felt like you wanted to kind of do wispies up the stems, you certainly could. You know, you certainly could do that if you wanted to. But I think I'm going to leave it at that right now. All right. So then what I did is I put that one away and I went back in for my dark. Now, as you can see, I am totally not blending on these. I am just adding some light and dark, some color, so I have some contrast. So it sort of, you know, it brings it to life is what I'm working on right now. Is I just want some lights and some darks in my green. Yep, so nothing too crazy here. So just kind of add a bit of light and dark in there so you can see it starts to kind of look, you can start to see that two-tone there. And it really does bring it to life. Okay, so that is it. Isn't that easy peasy? I told you that it was. And when you look at that flower, it's really hard to believe that that's really all the coloring that you've done on it. And if you have some Wink of Stella, you could certainly put the Wink of Stella on the flower, and then it would be really pretty in that shimmery, glittery kind of look, right? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we are gonna grab a pecan pie stamp pad. So there's my pecan pie stamp pad. And then what you would do is stamp your sentiment. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have a sentiment here. My sentiment is wishing you so much joy on this special day. So we're gonna stamp that. Whoa, must have had some water on that one. Hang tight, let's do it again. There we go. And so we're gonna stamp that, and I'm gonna go ahead and close this back up. And then what happens is in these dies, you have a stitched circle, and you've also got, you know, like a real tight stitched circle, and you have a tight stitched rectangle. So then what I would do here is I would frame my sentiment and add my washi tape and run that through my cut and emboss machine. And then when you do that, you have this wonderful little sentiment that has been die cut, and you have that great stitched edge. Yeah, easy peasy, super fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our card now. And, you know, before we move on, I want to do one more thing. I want to add some baker's twine in here. And if I don't do this now, then once I put my frame down, it might be just a wee bit, you know, wee bit more challenging, but we could certainly do it. So I'm going to go ahead and just sort of tie myself a little decorative bow right here. And then I'll show you we're going to add our sentiment to it and so forth as well. And honestly, if the paper is moving around on you, you might even just add your dimensionals behind it, stick it to your card front, and then tie your bow, because then it's more sturdy, right? It's going to be a little bit more sturdy for you and that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that as is for now. Let's flip it over. Wow, that's pretty too, isn't it? Oh my gosh, this paper is just awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm going to take my Stampin' Dimensionals and I'm going to work my way around my frame. And like I said earlier, while I'm doing this, if you haven't seen my video where I used baker's twine and I stitched in these little holes, you have to go back and see it. It is absolutely fantastic how you can really take this frame up a notch by adding some baker's twine to it. So I will show you that here momentarily. So here we go. I am just centering my frame on my card front. So I think that that looks great. And let's go ahead and trim off our little bow down here. Okay. And then what you have left is you have your sentiment. And the sentiment I'm just going to tuck right up under here. Now you could certainly use, if you felt like you wanted to pop it up, you could do a Stampin' Dimensional, or you could just glue it straight to the frame. And I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to add some liquid adhesive, if it will come out here. All right, come on. So we're going to add some liquid adhesive, and then I'm just going to wiggle it into place where I want it on my frame. Okay, so I think right about in here will be great. And then of course you can, if your bow is unruly and you want it in a certain spot, just put a little mini glue dot underneath that. Okay. So then it will hold it right into place. Now let's talk about those cork rounds. Those cork rounds are fantastic and they work so well with this card. So I'm going to take a big one and I'm going to put it right in the center of my largest flower. And then I'm going to take a couple of these small ones and just sort of strategically place them here on my card. Isn't that fun? Now, if you want a little more of a contrast, you can take your light. Yep, this is my light pecan pie. And you could certainly come in here and add a little bit of pecan pie to these flowers in here. And it'll also sort of complement your cork rounds. So I hope that you like this card. Isn't it fantastic? So fun, so easy to do. And that stitched edge is pretty fantastic, isn't it? So here, check this out. Right now we have Celebration, and a part of Celebration is this, what is it called? Softly Sophisticated, maybe? This embossing folder, and then there's a stamp set that you could get for free with a $100 purchase through the end of February of 2024. And I love this embossing folder, so I used it on this pecan pie cardstock. And look at how beautiful these two complement each other. Really, really, really fantastic. Okay, so let's take it a step further. So in that card, what we did is we took designer series paper and we used those stitch dies and we cut out our frame and we stamped inside, so we framed our image. How about if we do it maybe a little different on the next card? So let's go ahead and look at our next one. So our next one is going to use soft sea foam. Yes, soft sea foam is this next one. And what I did here is I love white on white. So I went ahead and die cut the exact same frame and I did stamp my sentiment. Okay, so I die cut my frame, I stamped my sentiment, and I also stamped myself a little cup to show you what I'm going to do there. All right, so on this card, what we're going to do is we're going to fold our card base in half. Then we're going to add our sea foam right here to the top. Now, we have an embossing folder that is called, it's called the 3D Basics embossing folder. They come in a pack of 3, and you've probably seen these folders. They're pretty fantastic. They've been very popular and well loved for sure. And so my favorite of those 3 is this one. It's kind of the, I don't know what you want to call it. It's kind of a checks, right? So this one is one of my favorites. I love it so much. Now, if you're wondering what the sizes and the dimensions of my cards are today, I don't want you to worry. Just go to brandyscards.com/blog and you will be able to find a free PDF tutorial with all the sizes and the dimensions so you can recreate these cards. And remember, if you don't have this stamp set, maybe there's another stamp set that you can use. And if you don't have these stitch dies, maybe you have some others. Maybe you have some stitch circles, stitch rectangles, squares, whatever the case may be. And maybe they're not stitched at all. That's perfectly okay. I hope that you still pull those out and get crafting, okay? All right, so here you go. This has been embossed, and this is that Basics 3D embossing folder. And so what we're gonna do here is that is gonna go here in the center. And then what you're going to do is you are going to put some Stampin' Dimensionals behind this frame. And look at that. It just, when you add the dimensionals behind this frame, it really brings it to life. And now instead of your image being the focal point back here, you have this beautiful textured background. Yeah, so there's so many fun things that you can do there. So let me just go ahead and add that and show you what I mean there. And of course, you know, either side of this embossing folder is fantastic. So if you like the other side better, well, then you could absolutely use the other side. It's really up to you and, you know, kind of what works with your design. So let's go ahead and add our Stampin' Dimensionals. I love these things. They are fantastic, although they are all over my house, the little backings. I find them in my hair. Find them stuck to my socks. Yes, and you know, Amanda, who is my assistant who works with me here, she finds them all over her cats because they like to play in them too. So here you go. So we're gonna add this right here on top just like that. So look how fun. Doesn't that look fantastic? And it really, with that embossed background, it really adds something extra to it. Now what you can do with your little teacup is you can color your teacup with soft seafoam, and then you can accent it with some Granny Apple Green, and then of course you can color your flower. So let me show you what I ended up with. How fun is that? Now I did pop my flower up, and I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't show you your pot, your pecan pie pot popped up, but I will do that. And so here you go. I colored one of these little flowers, and then I just added, I believe just a mini glue dot behind it to kind of give it a lift. I didn't want a Stampin' Dimensional because I felt it was going to be a little too high, but it's entirely up to you. And yes, I did hand cut this teacup out, and then I just placed it right here in the corner and then added my flower on top of the flower, right? And it just really pops it beautifully. Okay, so here, what about your envelope? Because what I find is that a beautiful piece of stationery definitely looks more finished when you stamp your envelope, doesn't it? So what I ended up doing is I did stamp my sentiment in Mossy Meadow. And so what I did is there's these like 3 little dots that are in the stamp set. And so I just took those 3 little dots and literally just stamped all around like this, around my background, you know, to kind of create this fun pattern. So just kind of move it around so you don't get the exact same pattern, right, throughout. And then when you're done, you're going to glue this piece to your envelope flap, and then you're going to trim around it, and check that out. Isn't that fun? Well, let me show you that with your teacup. Yeah, isn't that cool? So it's just really a beautiful piece of finished stationery. And if you cut that piece that you stamped a little bit bigger, well, then you can add it to the inside as well, which is going to give you kind of a little bit of that added interest. And of course, when the person opens it up, they're going to realize that it coordinates beautifully with their envelope. So I just think that for such an easy little thing that you added to the inside. It really does make a big difference. Of course, you could add, a few random gems or something inside of there as well. All right, so I do have one more example for you, and I think then we've used all of the stamps inside of that stamp set. So the next one is the nest. So let me show you the nest. Let me grab the dies and let me grab the stamp set. So here, this is the stamp that we're going to use, and this is the die that we're going to use. So we're going to do the stitch circle, and we are going to do our nest. Okay, and so let's find my nest here. So what I did is I actually die cut that already, and then you're going to color this with your Stampin' Blends. So let me show you the finished card. So here is my finished card. So what I ended up doing is I used crumb cake to color. Yep, the crumb cake colors my nest. And then I've got my granny apple green in my leaves. And then my eggs are balmy blue, so light and dark balmy blue. And then I have also used kind of a scrap piece from when I did my other card, and I put that one right over here. And then I have a little lemon lolly strip. And of course I added some adhesive back sequins. This would be, remember I said that there was a really tight stitched rectangle as well as a circle in there? So that's what that is. And remember, I stamped my sentiment on scrap paper, and then I framed it with my die cut, and I ran it through my cut and emboss machine. On this one, I decided to do the same thing here on the inside, where you could just write your message there on the inside. So it was identical, and you could even put your yellow lemon lolly strip on the inside too. I didn't do that, but you certainly could. Just really, really fun. Really fun. Now here, let me show you a little trick. On this one, I popped up my egg. Yeah, so I stamped it a second time, and I just cut out this bottom egg. And what I ended up doing is I put a mini glue dot on the bottom of the egg, and at the top I used a mini Stampin' Dimensional. And so that way it kind of went on an angle. So the bottom was glued down and the top was popped up. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a 3D dimension, look to it. So just really, really fun. Really, really fun. And then I added my adhesive back sequins. So, and of course this time we have stamped on our die cut. So here, let's bring actually I have an envelope to show you. Before I do that, let me show you that envelope. So this envelope, this is my coordinating envelope with this one. So I took the stamp from this, right? Cleaned this stamp, and then in Lemon Lolly, I stamped my background here. Yeah, so I stamped the background on the Lemon Lolly cardstock because it coordinates beautifully. It certainly does not contrast. And I thought that was really a really nice, kind of a nice way to finish that card. So let me show you these, and then I'm going to show you my stitched cards. All right, so here you go. You can see all three of those. Just lovely, so pretty, and I love the finished look with the envelopes. So which one is your favorite? We've stamped our floral background there. Here we did the little dots, which were pretty fun. And then, these die cuts, these stitch die cuts, to see the embossed area there in the back is really, really cool. And then, of course, over here you've got where it frames your image. And on this one, we've actually stamped on the die cut. Super fun. Super, super fun. All right. So I have some other cards to show you, and these are my cards that are stitched. But before I do so, if you haven't already done so, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like and subscribe. I've got a lot more videos coming for you. It brings me great joy to share with you. And I hope that you are inspired. My hope is that you go into your craft room and you pull out some fun stuff and you get crafting. Now, if you're new to stamping and you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love the opportunity to help you, and I'd love to earn your business. Please send me an email at brandyscards.com/contact. And it's there that you can email me your mailing address and I can send you a set of catalogs in the mail. So this is our annual catalog, and this catalog is good through the end of April. So yeah, so mid-April, if you're a customer of Brandy's Cards, you'll be getting a new annual catalog. So that is super exciting. And of course, we have our spring catalog that ends is good through April as well. So again, if you don't have a demonstrator, I'd love the opportunity to help you and be on this crafting journey with you. So just reach out to me. And of course, if you're looking for this project on brandyscards.com/blog and you can't find it, just go to the search bar. There's a magnifying glass on Brandy's Cards and just click on that. And within my blog, you can search for the stamp set, Everyday Details. Everyday details, everyday dies, stitched dies would be a good keyword to search for, and any cards that I've done using the stitched dies should pull up for you, okay? So here, let me go ahead and set these aside for just a second, and let me show you the cards that I use that I created with the stitched. So this is, our 3-color baker's twine, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's balmy blue, lemon lolly, and our flirty flamingo. So remember, I use these exact same dies, and here is the first card that I created. So this one is basically it looks like a swirled stitch. So in the video, I show you exactly how I created that. It turns out so beautiful. I went around the entire perimeter of the frame, and it is the exact same frame in this card as well. Pretty cool, right? Just a whole different look. And then here is another one. And again, all of the sizes and the dimensions, as well as the way that I stitched it, because yes, this one actually is thicker, and you can see that there's 2 stitches in there. So I show you exactly how I did that in that video as well. And the stamp set that I use is called Places in My Heart. Absolutely gorgeous. So that's my little girl card of the stitched. Are you ready for little dreamers, the little lion? Oh, he's precious. So here's the flirty flamingo, and that's baker's twine. And yes, this is just a single stitch, and you make your way around the perimeter, leaving yourself a tail to tie off a bow. And there's that one. And then for those of you that sew and are super good at that sort of thing, well, then you can get really creative with some of these other shapes. You can sew across the circle, diagonal, the rectangle, and that sort of thing. So you can get really, really creative with that one as well. So there is a video on brandyscards.com. You can also find a full color tutorial. It's free. Just go to brandyscards.com/blog and you'll be able to find this project as well. So there you go. Lots of cards. That's what, 6 or 7 different cards using the everyday stitched detailed dies. Fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that I've inspired you, and I hope that you are going to get crafting right away. If you're one of my current customers, I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful for you. I love talking to you. I love hearing from you. I'm so grateful for your email, for your cards, and for your business. So thank you for supporting my efforts and being a loyal customer of Brandy's Cards. I truly appreciate you and look forward to lots more videos and crafting to come. Thanks for joining me today, and have a blessed day. Bye, everyone.